I didn't plan on coming out to my roommate like that. Honestly, if I could redo that moment, I probably would have picked literally any other way. But life doesn't really care about timing. It happened on a random Tuesday night, the kind where nothing is supposed to happen. Owen and I were just sitting in the living room, half watching some dumb reality show while eating takeout straight from the containers. It was normal, comfortable, even. That was our thing. We weren't best friends, but we weren't strangers either. Just two guys who got used to each other. Owen was the kind of guy people noticed without trying. Tall, athletic, always looked like he had just come from the gym even when he hadn't. Girls loved him. Guys respected him. And me? I was just Luke. Quiet, kept to myself, did my classes, played games, worked part-time. And tried very hard not to stare at my roommate when he walked around in just sweatpants. I thought I had it under control. Until my phone buzzed. I didn't even think before picking it up. Big mistake. Owen leaned over slightly, trying to see the screen, and I reacted too slow. Way too slow. The message preview was already there. Are you still coming out this weekend or are you chickening out again? From a guy. A guy Owen definitely didn't know. There was this tiny pause. Barely a second. But it was enough. Coming out? Owen repeated, casually at first, like he didn't fully register it yet. My stomach dropped. I laughed. A fake, awkward laugh that didn't even sound like me. It's nothing, just a joke. Owen didn't laugh back. He was still looking at me. Not in a judgmental way. Not angry. Just focused. Like he was putting pieces together. You're gay? He asked. Just like that. No build-up. No drama. Straight to it. And for a second, I considered lying. I really did. But something about the way he said it, calm, direct, made it feel pointless. So I exhaled, looked down at my food and said, yeah. Silence. Not the comfortable kind we were used to. This one felt heavy. Oh, Owen said after a moment. That was it. No follow-up. No questions. No reaction, really? Just, oh. We finished eating in near silence after that. The TV kept playing, people yelling and laughing about nonsense, but neither of us was paying attention anymore. I could feel it though. Something had shifted. At first, I told myself I was overthinking it. The next morning, everything seemed normal. Owen was up before me, like always. I found him in the kitchen making coffee, shirtless, his back to me. Morning, he said like nothing had happened. Morning, I replied, trying to match his tone. See? Normal. Except, it wasn't. Because now I was hyper-aware of everything. The way he moved. The way he stood. The way his voice sounded when he talked to me. And worse, how careful I suddenly felt. Like I had to monitor myself. Where I looked. How I acted. Whether I was being too obvious. Even though I'd been hiding it for months already. I hated that feeling. You've got class today? Owen asked, pouring coffee into his mug. Yeah. At 10. He nodded. Same. Another pause. Then he glanced at me. Just briefly. But it lingered a second too long to feel casual. Luke? Yeah? You could have told me, you know. I swallowed. Didn't think it mattered. He shrugged, but it wasn't his usual relaxed shrug. I mean, we live together. Yeah, I said quietly. Another silence. Then he nodded again, like he'd made up his mind about something. It's cool. Cool. That word should have made me feel better. But it didn't. Because that's when things started getting weird. At first, it was small stuff. Owen used to walk around the apartment like he didn't care, shirtless, towel low on his hips, completely comfortable. But after that night, he started covering up. Not completely. But enough that I noticed. T-shirts where there weren't any before. Shorts instead of just boxers. Even when he came out of the shower, he'd be quicker to disappear into his room. It was subtle. But it was there. And I hated how much I noticed it. Then there was the distance. We still talked, but less. Conversations that used to flow easily now felt forced. Like we were both trying not to step on something fragile between us. Like one wrong move would make it awkward for real. But the worst part? The looks. Because even though he was pulling away in some ways, in others, it felt like the opposite. I'd catch him staring sometimes. Not in a creepy way. Just watching me. Like he was trying to figure something out. And every time I noticed, he'd look away immediately. Like he wasn't supposed to be doing it. It all came to a head about a week later. We were sitting on opposite ends of the couch, both pretending to be focused on our own things. Me on my laptop, him scrolling through his phone. Quiet. Too quiet. Then suddenly, "Do you like me?" I froze. I actually thought I misheard him. "What?" I asked, slowly turning my head. Owen was already looking at me. Serious. No teasing. No smirk. Just direct. "You heard me," he said. My heart started pounding. This wasn't happening. "There are other guys," I said quickly. "I'm not just into every." "That's not what I asked?" His voice was still calm. But there was something underneath it now. Something tighter. I stared at him, my mind racing. This was exactly the situation I'd been trying to avoid. "Why does it matter?" I asked. Owen leaned back slightly, running a hand through his hair. "Just answer it." I hesitated. "Because the truth? The truth was dangerous." "I don't know," I said finally. "You're my roommate." That wasn't an answer. And we both knew it. Owen let out a quiet breath, then looked away for a second before meeting my eyes again. "You've been looking at me differently," he said. My stomach dropped. "I haven't." "Yeah, you have." His tone wasn't accusing. It was certain. And that made it worse. "I just want to know what's going on," he added. I stared at him, my pulse loud in my ears. Because the thing is, I wasn't the only one acting different. Not even close. And deep down, I had a feeling. This wasn't just about me anymore. I wish I could say I handled that moment well. I didn't. I just sat there, staring at Owen like he just said something completely insane, even though part of me knew he hadn't. Because he was right. Something had changed. "You're imagining things," I muttered, looking back down at my laptop like that would somehow end the conversation. It didn't. Owen leaned forward slightly, elbows on his knees, eyes still locked on me. "I'm not," he said. There was no hesitation in his voice. And that made it harder to brush off. "Then what do you want me to say?" I snapped a little more than I meant to. "Yeah, I'm gay, so suddenly I'm just into you? Is that what you think?" He didn't flinch. Didn't get defensive. If anything, he looked more focused. "I didn't say that." "Then what are you saying?" There was a beat of silence. Then he said, quieter this time, "I'm saying it feels different." That hit harder than it should have. Because I knew exactly what he meant. The air between us had been off for days. Thick. Charged in this weird, unspoken way either of us knew how to deal with. But hearing him say it out loud, that made it real. I rubbed my face, exhaling slowly. "Look, I didn't tell you because I didn't want this." "This?" he repeated. "This whole thing," I said, gesturing vaguely between us. "You overthinking every interaction. Me overthinking every interaction. It wasn't like this before." Owen leaned back again, jaw tightening slightly. "Yeah," he said. "It wasn't." Another silence. But this one wasn't empty. It felt like we were both circling the same thought, just not saying it. Things didn't magically get better after that. If anything, they got more complicated. Because now everything was out in the open, but not really resolved. We went back to our routines. Classes, work, random TV at night. On the surface, it looked normal again. But underneath? It was worse. Because now there was awareness. Every little thing felt amplified. Like one night, I walked into the kitchen late, couldn't sleep, and Owen was already there, leaning against the counter, drinking water. Shirtless again. That hadn't happened in days. I paused for half a second. He noticed. Our eyes met. And instead of looking away like he had been, he held my gaze. Just for a second. Then two. He took another sip of water, slow, deliberate, like he suddenly knew I was watching. My chest tightened. Couldn't sleep? He asked, casual. Yeah, I said, forcing myself to move, to grab a glass like everything was normal. You. Same. I turned on the faucet, focusing on anything but him. But I could feel it. That awareness again. Stronger now. You've been avoiding me, Owen said suddenly. I froze, glass halfway full. I haven't. Look. Something in his voice made me look up. He was closer now. I didn't even hear him move. I'm not stupid, he added. I'm not avoiding you, I said, quieter this time. I'm just giving you space. I didn't ask for space. The words came out sharper than I expected. I blinked. You literally started acting different the second you found out. Owen's jaw clenched. That's not. You started covering up. I cut in. Talking less. Acting like you have to be careful around me. That's not why, he said quickly. Then why? That stopped him. For the first time, he didn't have an immediate answer. And that's when I noticed it. That flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Something off. You wouldn't get it, he said finally. I let out a dry laugh. Try me. Another pause. Longer this time. Then he shook his head slightly, like he was debating whether to say something he probably shouldn't. You told me you're gay, he said slowly. Fine. Whatever. That doesn't bother me. But? I pressed. His eyes met mine again. And there it was. That tension. That doesn't mean it didn't change things, he admitted. My chest tightened. Yeah. I noticed. No, I mean. He stopped himself, exhaling sharply. Forget it. No, say it. Owen looked frustrated now. Not at me, at himself. I just didn't expect. He started, then trailed off again. Didn't expect what? He ran a hand through his hair, pacing once across the kitchen like he needed the movement. Then he stopped. Turned back to me. I didn't expect to start thinking about it, he said. I frowned. Thinking about what? He held my gaze. You. That wasn't what I expected. At all. I actually felt my brain short-circuit for a second. What? I said, barely above a whisper. Owen let out a quiet, almost humorless laugh. Yeah. Exactly. No, what does that even mean? He shook his head again, like he was already regretting saying it. I don't know, okay? After you told me, it's like my brain wouldn't shut up about it. About me being gay. About you, he corrected. The way he said it made my stomach twist. That doesn't make sense, I said. I know. You've had girlfriends. I know. You're straight. He hesitated. I thought I was. That hit harder than anything else he'd said. The kitchen suddenly felt too small. Too quiet. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Owen stepped closer again. Not all the way. But enough. Because you asked? He said. My heart was pounding now. This wasn't supposed to be happening. This wasn't how any of this was supposed to go. And because, he added, voice lower now, I needed to know if I was the only one feeling it. I swallowed. Hard. Because that question? That was the one I'd been avoiding since the beginning. And now, there was no way around it. I should have lied. Looking back, that was probably the last easy exit I had. All I had to do was laugh it off. Say no. Say he was imagining things again. Put everything back into that safe, familiar box we'd been living in before. But I didn't. Because he was standing there, looking at me like that, serious, a little tense, like this actually mattered to him. And the truth? The truth had been there long before he ever asked the question. I just hadn't said it out loud. No, I said quietly. Owen's expression shifted instantly. Not fully. He didn't pull away or anything, but something in his face tightened. Like he was bracing for it. Okay, he said, nodding once. Too fast. Too controlled. And that's when I realized. He thought I meant no as in nothing's there. Wait, I said quickly. That's not. He looked back at me. What? I ran a hand through my hair, suddenly frustrated with myself. I mean, you're not the only one feeling it. The words hung there. Heavy. Owen didn't move. Didn't speak. Just stared at me like he was trying to make sure he heard that right. So you do like me? He said finally. Not a question. More like he was confirming it for himself. I hesitated. Because putting it that simply felt dangerous. But there wasn't really a softer version of it. Yeah, I admitted. That was the moment everything changed. Not gradually. Not subtly. Just shifted. Neither of us moved for a few seconds. We were just standing there in the kitchen, way too close, both suddenly very aware of it. It felt different now. Before, there had been tension, sure, but it was unspoken. Easy to ignore if you tried hard enough. Now? It was right there. Out in the open. You've been acting like it, Owen said after a moment. There was no accusation in his voice. Just observation. I let out a quiet breath. I tried not to. Yeah, he said, almost to himself. I noticed that too. I frowned slightly. What's that supposed to mean? He looked at me again, something unreadable in his expression. Nothing, he said. But it didn't feel like nothing. Not even close. After that, we both kind of backed off. Not in a dramatic way. Just instinctively. Like we both realized we were standing way too close to a line neither of us fully understood yet. I should get some sleep, I muttered, even though I wasn't tired at all. Yeah, Owen said. Same. Neither of us moved right away. Then I stepped past him. And I swear, I felt it. That tiny shift as I brushed by him. Barely any contact. But enough. Enough that my chest tightened and I had to force myself not to react. I made it to my room, shut the door, and just stood there for a second. Heart racing. What the hell was that? I muttered to myself. Because this wasn't just some one-sided crush anymore. This wasn't me quietly dealing with feelings I knew would go nowhere. This was complicated. The next few days were weird. Not awkward exactly, but charged. Like everything we did had this underlying tension neither of us could ignore anymore. Owen stopped avoiding me completely. If anything, it was the opposite. He was around more. Sitting closer on the couch again. Talking more. Looking at me directly instead of avoiding eye contact like before. But now it felt intentional. Like he was testing something. Or maybe figuring something out. And I didn't know how to react to that. Because every time he got a little closer, my brain just short-circuited. One night, we were back on the couch. Same setup as before. TV on. Takeout. Normal. Or at least, pretending to be. Owen was sitting closer than usual. Not touching. But close enough that I could feel the heat from his arm. I was trying, really trying, to focus on the screen. But it was impossible. Luke, he said suddenly. Yeah? Can I ask you something? I tensed slightly. You're gonna do it anyway. He huffed a quiet laugh. Probably. I glanced at him. Big mistake. He was already looking at me. Closer than I expected. What does it feel like? He asked. I blinked. What does what feel like? He hesitated for half a second. Looking at me like that. My stomach dropped. I don't lie. He cut in, but his tone wasn't harsh. Just certain. I've seen it. I swallowed. This again. Except now, there was no pretending it wasn't real. It's not like that all the time, I said carefully. Owen didn't look away. Yeah, he said. But sometimes it is. Silence. Then quieter. So what does it feel like? I exhaled slowly, leaning back against the couch like I needed the distance, even though it didn't really help. I started then stopped. Because how do you even explain that? How do you put that into words without making everything worse? Owen waited. Didn't interrupt. Didn't push. Just watched me. And for some reason, that made it harder to lie. It's confusing, I said finally. Because I know I shouldn't. Why not? I gave him a look. Seriously? I'm asking. You're my roommate, I said. I stopped myself. Straight? He finished. I hesitated. Yeah. Owen leaned back slightly, considering that. Then he said something that made my chest tighten all over again. I don't think it's that simple anymore. I looked at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time, I realized he wasn't just curious. He wasn't just confused. He was in it. Just like I was. And that was way more dangerous than anything before. I started avoiding being alone with him after that. Not in an obvious way. I just timed things differently. If I heard him in the kitchen, I'd wait. If he sat on the couch, I'd stay in my room a little longer. If we ended up in the same space, I kept it short. Because the truth was, I didn't trust myself anymore. And I definitely didn't trust whatever was happening between us. But Owen? Yeah, he noticed. Of course he did. Are you seriously doing this right now? I froze halfway to my room. Damn it. I turned slowly. Doing what? Owen was standing by the couch, arms crossed, looking right at me. This, he said, gesturing vaguely. Whatever this is. I don't know what you mean. He let out a short laugh. Not amused. Look. That tone again. The one that meant he wasn't letting it go. I sighed, rubbing the back of my neck. I've just been busy. Yeah? He said. Too busy to sit in the same room for more than 5 minutes? I didn't answer. Because we both knew that wasn't it. Owen shook his head slightly, pushing off the couch and walking closer. And just like that, my body tensed. Instinctively. Like it had learned something before my brain caught up. You're avoiding me, he said. I'm not. Stop lying. I'm not lying. I shot back, even though it sounded weak. He stepped closer. Closer than necessary. Then why does it feel like you are? My heart was already starting to pick up again. This was exactly what I'd been trying to avoid. This is why, I said, gesturing between us. Because every conversation turns into this. This what? He pressed. This weird, intense thing, I said. Where we're standing too close and saying things we shouldn't be saying. Owen didn't step back. If anything, he tilted his head slightly, studying me. Seems pretty simple to me, he said. I stared at him. Simple? Yeah. How is this simple? He shrugged one shoulder, way too calm for someone who was completely messing with my head. We like each other. My chest tightened. That's not simple, I said. It could be. No, it couldn't, I snapped. Because you don't even know what that means for you. That hit something. I saw it. That brief flicker in his expression. But he didn't back down. Then explain it to me, he said. I blinked. What? Explain what I'm supposed to be feeling, he said. Since you seem so sure I don't get it. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? His voice wasn't loud. But it was intense. And suddenly, We were really close. Like, no space left between normal conversation and something else entirely. I mean, I hesitated, trying to find the right words. You've never dealt with this before. Neither have you, he pointed out. That's different. How? Because I've spent years figuring it out. Because I've had to think about this stuff whether I wanted to or not. Because this isn't new for me. But for him? This was all happening at once. And that made it unpredictable. That's not the point, I said instead. Owen's eyes narrowed slightly. Then what is? I exhaled sharply. The point is, this doesn't just stay simple, I said. It turns into something messy. And complicated. And if it goes wrong, we still have to live together. That actually made him pause. Just for a second. But it was enough to know he hadn't fully thought that part through. Okay, he said slowly. So what? We just pretend nothing's happening? Yes, I said immediately. He stared at me. You don't mean that. I do. No, you don't, he said, stepping even closer. And now there was really no space left. You've been looking at me like you want something for weeks, he added quietly. And now that I'm saying I feel it too, you just want to shut it down? It's not that simple, I repeated. Stop saying that. Because it's true. Or because you're scared? That landed harder than I expected. I frowned. I'm not scared. Owen raised an eyebrow slightly. You're literally avoiding me. I'm being smart. No, he said. You're running. I let out a frustrated breath. You don't get to act like you have this all figured out. You just found out you might not even be straight like a week ago. And that matters, I snapped. Because what if this is just curiosity? Or confusion? Or what? He cut in. A mistake? I didn't answer. Because yeah, that's exactly what I was afraid of. Owen watched me for a second. Then his expression shifted. Not angry. Not defensive. Just certain. It's not, he said. You don't know that. I do. How? He stepped even closer. Close enough that I could feel his breath now. Because I don't react to anyone else like this, he said quietly. My chest tightened. And I've tried to ignore it, he added. I've tried to go back to normal. It doesn't work. I swallowed. Hard. Because I knew exactly what he meant. And you feel it too, he said. Not a question. A fact. I didn't move. Didn't speak. But I didn't deny it either. And that was enough. There was this moment. This pause. Where neither of us moved, but everything felt like it was about to. Like we were both standing right on the edge of something we couldn't take back. My heart was pounding. His eyes dropped for just a second. To my lips. Then back up. And that was it. That was the moment everything tipped. I don't know who moved first. That's the part that still messes with my head. Because 1 second, we were just standing there, too close, breathing the same air, both of us hesitating. And the next? Something shifted. Owen's hand came up first. Not fast. Not aggressive. Slow. Like he was giving me time to stop him. It brushed lightly against my arm. Barely anything. But it was enough to send this sharp, electric feeling straight through me. Luke, he said quietly. And that was it. That was all it took. Because I didn't pull away. I didn't say stop. I just stood there. And somehow, that turned into everything. His hand slid from my arm to my shoulder. Firm this time. Grounding. Like he needed to make sure I was actually there. That this was actually happening. My heart was going so fast it felt unreal. This is a bad idea, I said under my breath. Not convincing. Not even to myself. Owen let out a quiet breath, his forehead almost touching mine now. Yeah, he murmured. But he didn't move away. Neither did I. There was this tension, Not just physical. Something deeper. Like both of us were fully aware that once we crossed this line, there was no going back to how things were before. Roommates. Normal. Easy. All of that? Gone. And still, either of us stepped back. His hand shifted slightly, fingers tightening just a little against my shoulder. Not forceful. Just certain. Like he'd made a decision. You can tell me to stop, he said quietly. I swallowed. Because he meant it. I could hear it in his voice. If you want. I should've. I really should've. But instead. I don't, I said. And the second the words left my mouth, it happened. The kiss wasn't rushed. It wasn't messy or desperate like I expected. It was careful. Like he was still figuring it out. Like he didn't want to mess it up. His lips barely touched mine at first. Testing. Waiting. And when I didn't pull away, that's when it changed. His hand slid up slightly, fingers brushing the back of my neck, pulling me just a little closer. And suddenly, it wasn't careful anymore. It was real. My brain kind of shut off after that. All the overthinking, all the "this is complicated" stuff. Gone. Replaced by one very clear, very overwhelming fact. This was happening. Owen was kissing me. And I was kissing him back. It didn't last long. Not because either of us wanted it to stop. But because it hit us at the same time. That realization. That oh shit moment. We pulled back almost at the exact same second. Both of us breathing a little heavier than we should have been. Neither of us speaking. Just staring at each other. Okay, Owen said finally. I blinked. Okay? He let out a short breath, running a hand through his hair like he always did when he was trying to process something. Yeah. Okay. That's all you have to say? I asked. I don't know what else to say, he admitted. Fair. Because honestly? Same. There was a weird mix of emotions hitting all at once. Relief. Shock. Excitement. And yeah, a little bit of panic. Because now it wasn't just tension anymore. It wasn't just looks or questions or what if? We'd actually done something. And that changed everything. That didn't feel like a mistake, Owen said after a moment. I looked at him. Really looked at him. Because part of me expected him to walk it back. To say it was just curiosity. A one-time thing. But he didn't. He looked steady. Certain. And that made my chest tighten again. No, I said quietly. It didn't. Now what? I asked. Owen huffed a quiet laugh. Good question. We both knew there wasn't an easy answer. Because it wasn't just about us. It was about the apartment. Our routines. Everything we built before this. And whether we were about to completely mess it up. Owen leaned back slightly against the counter, crossing his arms. But his eyes didn't leave mine. We figure it out, he said. Figure what out? This, he said simply. I let out a breath. That's not very specific. Yeah, well, either is this, he replied. Fair enough. I shook my head slightly, still trying to wrap my mind around everything. You realize this is exactly what I was trying to avoid, right? Owen smirked a little. Yeah, he said. I figured. And you just ignored that? Pretty much. I stared at him. And despite everything, I couldn't help it. I laughed. A short, disbelieving laugh. Because of course he did. But then, the moment settled again. Quieter this time. More real. Because now it wasn't just tension anymore. It was something else. Something we hadn't defined yet. And the craziest part? I didn't want to go back. The next morning felt unreal. Like I woke up in the same apartment, same room, same everything, but something underneath had completely shifted. For a second, I just lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying it. The kitchen. The way he looked at me. Shit, I muttered, dragging a hand over my face. Because it wasn't a dream. And there was no undo button. I stayed in my room longer than usual. Not because I was avoiding him this time. Okay, maybe a little. But mostly because I had no idea what I was supposed to do now. Act normal? Acknowledge it? Pretend it didn't happen? None of those felt right. Eventually, I heard movement in the kitchen. Cabinets opening. Coffee machine. The usual. Owen was up. Of course he was. I sat there for another minute, then 2, then 5. Just go, I told myself. You live here too. So I got up, opened the door, and stepped out. Owen was standing at the counter, back to me, making coffee. Same as always. Same posture. Same routine. For a second, it almost felt like nothing had changed. Then he turned slightly. And our eyes met. Yeah. Definitely changed. Morning, he said. Casual. Too casual. Morning, I replied. I walked past him, grabbed a mug, doing my best to act like my heart wasn't immediately racing again. There was this weird awareness now. Every movement. Every second. Like we were both hyper-aware of each other in a way we hadn't been before. You sleep okay? He asked. Yeah, I said. You? Yeah. Short answers. Safe. But the tension? Still there. I poured coffee, leaned against the counter across from him, and for a second, neither of us said anything. Then Owen exhaled quietly. We're not gonna pretend that didn't happen, right? Straight to it. Of course. I let out a small breath. I wasn't planning to. Good. Another pause. Then he added, I don't regret it. That hit immediately. Fast. Direct. My chest tightened a little. Yeah, I said. Me either. And that was the truth. No hesitation. No second guessing. Owen nodded slightly, like he needed to hear that. Then he took a sip of his coffee, watching me over the rim of the mug. So what are we doing? He asked. I huffed a quiet laugh. You keep asking that like I'm supposed to have an answer. You're the one who said this gets complicated. It does. Okay, he said. Then explain the complicated part. I hesitated. Because the complicated part wasn't just one thing. It was everything. It's not just about us, I said. It's everything around it. Like what? Like the fact that we live together, I said. The fact that this could go really well, or really bad. Owen nodded slowly. Okay. And if it goes bad, we're stuck in the same space, I added. That's not nothing. Yeah, he said. I've thought about that. I raised an eyebrow slightly. Have you? Yeah, he said simply. And I still don't think that's a reason to ignore it. Of course he didn't. I shook my head slightly, but there was no real frustration behind it anymore. Just nerves. This is new for you, I said. I know. And you're sure this isn't just curiosity? Owen didn't even hesitate this time. No. I studied him. Because before, there had been uncertainty. Confusion. Now? Not really. What changed? I asked. He shrugged a little. I stopped trying to fight it. That made sense. More than I wanted it to. Another quiet moment passed. Then Owen set his mug down on the counter. And instead of stepping away, he stepped closer. Not all the way. But enough. Again. That same distance from last night. My body reacted instantly. Like it remembered. You're still overthinking it, he said. I let out a breath. Someone has to. Or, he countered, we could just see where it goes. That's how people get into messes. He smirked slightly. That's also how people get into relationships. That word hit differently. I noticed it. He noticed that I noticed it. And suddenly, the air shifted again. We're not there, I said quickly. I didn't say we were. he replied. I said we could see where it goes. That's a slippery slope. Look. What? He stepped just a little closer. Enough that I had to tilt my head slightly to keep eye contact. You kissed me back, he said quietly. My throat felt dry all of a sudden. Yeah. And you didn't regret it? No. And you still want to pretend this is some huge problem we shouldn't touch? I hesitated. Because when he said it like that, it sounded different. Simpler. Still risky. But not impossible. I just don't want to screw this up, I admitted. That was the real answer. Not fear of him. Not fear of what it meant. Just fear of losing what we already had. Owen's expression softened slightly. For the first time that morning. You won't, he said. You don't know that. No, he admitted. But I know avoiding it won't help either. Fair. Annoyingly fair. There was that pause again. That same one from last night. Where everything felt like it was balancing on a decision. Then Owen did something small. But it hit way harder than it should have. He reached out. And this time, instead of hesitating, he just took my hand. Not rushed. Not intense. Just simple. Natural. Like it wasn't a big deal. Even though it absolutely was. You're thinking too far ahead, he said quietly. Just stay here for a second. My chest tightened. Because for once, I didn't want to argue. And I didn't pull away. Holding his hand shouldn't have felt like a big deal. But it did. Way more than the kiss, somehow. Because the kiss? That could have been written off as a moment. A lapse. Something intense but temporary. This felt steady. Real. And that scared me more than anything. Owen didn't say anything after that. He just stood there, his hand wrapped around mine like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like we'd done it 100 times before. And I just let it happen. Didn't pull away. Didn't overthink it. At least, not out loud. You're quiet, he said after a minute. I huffed a small breath. I'm trying not to ruin the moment. That got a faint smile out of him. Good, he said. Keep doing that. I rolled my eyes a little, but I didn't let go. We stayed like that longer than we should have. Long enough that it stopped feeling shocking. Long enough that it started feeling normal. And that was the dangerous part. Because once something starts to feel normal, it's a lot harder to pretend it shouldn't be happening. Eventually, I pulled my hand back. Not abruptly. Just slowly. I have class, I said. Owen nodded. Yeah. Me too. But neither of us moved right away. Again. That hesitation. Like we both knew walking out that door meant stepping back into real life, where things weren't as simple as standing in a kitchen holding hands. Luke, he said. Yeah? He hesitated. We're okay, right? That question caught me off guard. Yeah, I said. Why wouldn't we be? He shrugged slightly, but there was something uncertain in it. I don't want this to mess things up between us. There it was. The same fear I'd been sitting with this whole time. Just coming from him now. It might, I said honestly. Owen's expression tightened a little. But not in a bad way, I added quickly. He looked at me again. Waiting. It's already different, I said. There's no going back to how it was before. Do you want to? He asked. That answer came easier than I expected. No. Not even a hesitation. Owen held my gaze for a second longer. Then he nodded. Okay, he said. Simple. But it meant something. The walk to campus felt surreal. Like everything around me was the same, but I wasn't. I kept replaying everything in my head. The conversation. The kiss. His hand in mine. The way he looked at me when he said he didn't regret it. And the craziest part? I didn't feel anxious about it anymore. Not like before. Still nervous, yeah? Still aware that this could get complicated. But underneath all that, there was something else. Something solid. When I got back later that day, Owen was already home. Of course. He was sitting on the couch, TV on, one arm stretched along the back like always. Normal. Familiar. Except now, it wasn't just that. "Hey," he said when I walked in. "Hey." I dropped my bag by the door, hesitating for half a second before walking over. That same awareness kicked in again. But this time? I didn't stop. I sat down next to him. Close. Closer than I would have before. And he noticed. I could tell. But he didn't say anything. We watched whatever was on for a few minutes. Neither of us really paying attention. His hand brushed against mine. Light. Testing. Just like the first time. I glanced at him. He didn't look at me. Just kept his eyes on the TV like nothing was happening. But his hand stayed there. Waiting. So I moved mine slightly. Just enough. And this time, I was the one who closed the space. His fingers shifted immediately, intertwining with mine. Easy. Natural. Like it made sense. Neither of us said anything. We didn't need to. Because this said enough. After a while, Owen leaned back a little more into the couch. Relaxed. And without really thinking about it. I did the same. Letting my shoulder rest lightly against his. That small contact somehow felt bigger than everything else. "You're not running anymore," he said quietly. I glanced at him. "No," I admitted. He nodded slightly. "Good." And for the first time since all of this started, it didn't feel confusing. It didn't feel overwhelming. It just felt right. If you told me a week ago that I'd be sitting on the couch, fingers intertwined with Owen's like it was the most natural thing in the world, I would have laughed. Or panicked. Probably both. But now it just felt normal. The weirdest part wasn't the kiss. Or the tension. Or even the fact that my straight roommate was suddenly not so straight. It was how quickly we found a rhythm. Not perfect. Not defined. But something. Over the next few days, things settled into this quiet in-between. We didn't put a label on anything. Didn't have some big, "What are we?" conversation. But we also didn't pretend nothing was happening. It was in the small stuff. Sitting closer. Casual touches that weren't really casual. Late-night conversations that lasted longer than they used to. And yeah, more moments like the first one. Not rushed. Not reckless. Just building. One night, we ended up back in the kitchen again. Kind of ironic, honestly. That place had become something. Owen was leaning against the counter, watching me like he had been a lot lately. Not in a confusing way anymore. Just open. "You're smiling," he said. I blinked. "What?" "You've been smiling for like a full minute," he added. "By yourself?" I huffed a laugh, looking down. "Shut up. I'm serious," he said, stepping a little closer. "What's that about?" I shrugged, trying to play it off. "Nothing. Look." That tone again. But softer now. Less confrontational. More curious. I hesitated. Then exhaled. "It's just weird," I admitted. "Weird how?" I glanced up at him. "Good weird," I said. "I think." That got a small smile out of him. "I'll take that." There was a pause. Comfortable this time. Not heavy. Not tense. Just quiet. "You regret telling me?" he asked suddenly. That caught me off guard. "No," I said immediately. "Even with all this?" he added, gesturing lightly between us. "Especially because of this," I said. And I meant it. Owen studied me for a second. Then nodded, like he was filing that away somewhere important. "Good," he said. He stepped closer again. No hesitation this time. And I didn't step back. Didn't overthink it. Didn't question it. "You know," he said quietly, "I was acting weird at first. I raised an eyebrow. At first? He smirked slightly. Okay, yeah, a lot. Yeah, I said. You were. He rubbed the back of his neck, a little sheepish. I didn't know how to handle it, he admitted. It just caught me off guard. I noticed. I thought if I just ignored it, things would go back to normal. He added. And? He shook his head. Didn't work. I smiled slightly. Yeah. Same. I'm glad it didn't, he said. That one landed. Deep. Before I could overthink it. Before I could turn it into something complicated again. I stepped forward. Closed the space myself this time. Owen didn't hesitate. Not even for a second. And this kiss? It wasn't uncertain. Wasn't testing. It was sure. Like we'd already crossed that line and weren't questioning it anymore. When we pulled back, either of us rushed away. No awkward silence. No panic. Just standing there. Close. So, Owen said quietly. So? I echoed. He smirked a little. Guess I'm not acting weird about it anymore. I rolled my eyes, but I couldn't stop the smile. Yeah, I said. You're really not. And that was the thing. He wasn't. Not anymore. Looking back, the weird part wasn't him changing after he found out I was gay. It was how that change led us here. Because yeah, it started with distance. With confusion. With him acting like he didn't know what to do with it. But somewhere in the middle of all that, something shifted. Not just for him. For both of us. And now? Now I was standing in the same apartment, same kitchen, same life. But everything felt different. Better. Real. And for once, I wasn't overthinking it.